Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, our buddy Darren Pang coming up here in a moment. Dear Hayesy-B a little bit later in the hour. The Raptors back in action tonight. The Jays are in action tomorrow. Leafs are in action tomorrow. You know, we're going to have a bit of a crossover. I don't think the Raptors are going to play their way into the play-in. Last night was a big win. You know, they're kind of competing with Brooklyn for that. They're competing with Atlanta, and they're in Atlanta tonight. They can find a way to win that game. That'll certainly help their chances, but it's not likely they get to the play-in. So you're going to see maybe a little bit of crossover, right? Early April, you'll see the Jays back. You'll see the Raptors playing it out. And the Leafs, you know, who continue to win games, all of a sudden, you know, the buffer is – they get a 12-point buffer on a playoff spot where it was like – there were times over the last month and a half where they were a loss away from being like out of the playoffs or tied with the ninth place team in the East. And you run off 6 straight, win a bunch of games. Other teams continue to kind of struggle. And all of a sudden you're 12 points up on Washington, New Jersey, and the Islanders. And they're 7 up on Tampa, and they got 2 games in hand on the Lightning, and Tampa lost again last night.
Yeah, Johnny talks about the stats and the probability. Like that 12-point buffer, that gets you in pretty much. Like,
well, you needed it.
A colossal
they had to have that
meltdown.
Yeah, you needed that run. We say it all the time: a 5-game winning streak or a 5-game losing streak really changes. And there's a lump of teams that are right in there, but you win 6 in a row, you separate yourself from that. So now what you got to do is keep pace. And, you know, if you lose a couple, get back on, you know, don't lose 5 in a row. That's right. The challenge is to don't give all of it back, because ultimately it looks like the cut line is going to be 93 to 95. I was reading that today. So, you know, you got to get to 95 and 95 plus. Really, that's what you're looking at. So, you know, do the math, figure it out. But I think there's 6 in a row, man, that gives you that buffer where teams, you know, have gone 500 in that stretch. Now all of a sudden you stretch it out.
Big time. Do the math, as our boy Rick Bushwood once famously said. And, yeah, they got 26 games left, and, you know, there's no reason for them not to be at least a point a game, and that would put them up to 98 points. You know, I think you probably feel pretty good about just hitting 100 points again, something that, you know, not easy to do in the NHL. And Matthews scores again last night. Riley's got, you know, he's back in the lineup, and they got a win with him back in there. And, you know, it's been one of those years where things have come and gone. And, again, Tampa now has lost 3 in a row, and they're struggling. Like, Tampa is fighting it right now.
They're digging a lot of pucks out of their net. And as far as the Leafs go, they should just be excited, where it's kind of it's a good time to figure something out and say, this might work in the playoffs. I mean, we've tried everything else a bunch of different times our way, and now we're doing a different way. Maybe this is the path to success. I don't know, but they should be excited about that. It's just a different look, and it's got a different vibe. The fans are excited about it, and they should be cheering their ass off when that team gets on home ice on Tuesday night. No question. Should be fired up.
Yeah, well, and like we said earlier, if they can get a win tomorrow, then you complete, you know, probably the best road trip you've had in a long time. I mean, I can't recall one where you just kind of cruised starting in St. Louis and you just made your way through some tough spots like Vegas, like Colorado tomorrow. And, yeah, that'll be it too, right? Like, that's it. They've been through Western Canada. They've been through California. Now you've been through, you know, where you've been through here. They might have a couple of spots still. Maybe they have to go to Dallas still, Nashville. I can't remember. But for the most part,
they were in Dallas this year, weren't they?
Okay, so maybe they've already been there, which would, again, and I think they've been in Nashville because Samsonov won that game. I remember he was struggling. So that's probably it. You're coming back to the East Coast, and it's like, all right, you're up. You're playing 7 o'clock games like the rest of the way, which, again, is beneficial. You get through the difficult parts of your schedule. And that's what Rick Tocchet even said last night. You know, we were discussing in the 4 p.m. hour the mood meter throughout the country and the 7 different Canadian coaches and where they're at. And we've all got different views on where Rick Tocchet is right now compared to where he should be big picture. Big picture, Vancouver is still in a great spot. But they have lost 4 in a row. Everything's broken their way all year. Like, this could be a positive for the Canucks in the end because everything has gone their way. And now they've lost. They've been embarrassed a couple of times this week. That game against Minnesota was embarrassing. And we'll see what kind of buttons Rick Tocchet can push. and how they get back on the horse, because if you've gone this far, you might as well close, right?
Yeah.
In terms of trying to win a President's Trophy and certainly try to get home ice throughout the Western Conference. To chat about that, among many other things, we're chatting with a guy. We're bundling the birthdays here. It's the O-Dog's birthday today, and it was Darren Pang's birthday earlier this week. Here he is from the NHL on TNT, Darren Pang. How you doing, Darren?
I am doing fantastic, fellas. How's the show going? Everybody in a happy mood? O-Dog, you feeling good?
Yeah, I am, Darren. It's my birthday today, so I'm quite
I'm so
ecstatic
happy
about
for
that.
you.
Yeah.
Are you 48 years old today, O-Dog?
That's exactly how old I am, Panger. I'm 48 years old.
Boy, oh boy, do I ever remember those days. I was telling the boys on the ice, they did a little thing on our TNT game on Wednesday and gave us a little happy birthday shout out there, and I had about like 5 or 6 of the guys. It's the most they talked to me during the game. They're like, "How old are you?" I said, "I'm 60." They're like, "There's no way you're 60 years old." That's what you want, O-Dog. When you turn 60, you want people to say, "No way you're 60." Now, I don't know if they thought I was 50 or 70, but I was assuming they thought I was 50, so I took it as a compliment.
Right. That could swing the other way, too. You're right. It could be like, you're not 75 years old? That is shocking. Wow. How does that work?
Yeah.
Well, it's been a busy week for you, and we appreciate you finding time for us. We always do. And, we were just talking about Rick Tocchet, obviously a guy you know very, very well. And, at this point, I think we'd all concede probably going to run away with it, Jack Adams. And it's just been a remarkable season in Vancouver, yet they've lost 4 in a row here for the first time all year. Had an embarrassing game the other night against Minnesota. How many more buttons do you think he can push? Like, is there does he take on a different complexion? How do you think Rick Tocchet handles this struggle in Vancouver, the last week, and how he revs them up for the playoffs?
No, you know what? I think he manages to push all the right buttons. I even think when people assume that Rick Tocchet, gets a little intense and gets a little fiery, there's still a calmness about him. I mean, you can ask all the guys that played for him on that Arizona Coyote team. And I remember one particular time when he was there. It was a 7-game series, of all things in the regular season. Remember, because of COVID, and they did a bunch of long games. Anyway, 7 straight games that I broadcast between St. Louis and the Arizona Coyotes, and it was Tocchet versus Berube. And there's just a way that he recognizes players that are lacking confidence, players that are maybe a little too cocky. I don't know. He's got a great ability to balance things out. So how do I think he's going to handle this? I think he's going to handle it just fine. He pushes them hard, but he recognizes that you can't whip Seabiscuit too many times around the bend here. At the same time, he expects that hockey club to play a 200-foot game, and when they're not, I mean, I've seen times where, hey, JT Miller's had a great season. He's a power forward who everybody knows what he can do. But if the game is not going well, it's not like he's getting some extra candy while you've got a goaltender pulled so he can score an empty net goal. I'm just using him as an example. But, I mean, I think that's coaching. I think Talk does an exceptional job of that. And so, I don't think he's whipped these ponies too hard that there's going to be nothing left in the tank. I think these are going to be great teaching moments for them, and I think he's got the ability to punch them back up because they're a little down right now. So they play a hard game, guys. You know it. They back check hard. They forecheck hard. They hold on to pucks in the offensive zone. They don't give them up. That's not an easy way to play hockey. It reminds me a little bit about the way the Blues were playing in that 2019 season, and you can't do it for 82 games. You just can't. I mean, but then you find your way again, and then you're off and running.
Panger, you've been around the league a long time. You've seen Ovi and Sid come in, Matthews, McDavid. You cover the kid every day in Bedard. Where do you think he's going to fit with all of this? How special is he?
Yeah, Noodles, and it was good to see you the other night too in that game. It's funny that the last game that the Hawks played was on Wednesday against Philadelphia, and I thought that was one of his best games of the year. I mean, he grabbed that puck, he wanted the puck, he made plays through the neutral zone. He dissected basically a 1-2-2 many times over. Sometimes it looked like a 1-4. And it was like, boom, he got the puck, he darted through there. It was like he just surveyed the situation and went. And so, I don't know if I can throw actual players to him. He obviously doesn't skate like McDavid. He's not as big and strong and powerful like Auston Matthews, although they have a shot that resembles the others, I think, at times. He's a unique player. what I love about him, Noodles, and I told you this when you were here, is the kid is just ultra competitive. And I know those guys don't get to be number one overall picks, just by going through the motions. But he hates having a bad shift. He hates making a bad pass, and at the same time, he's got a real good humor about him that is really fun to be around. And I think, like all the great players, once they trust you, then they take their personality to another level.
Panger, we just mentioned the Canucks and their 3-game slide. There's been some really wicked ups and downs for teams this year. Can you put your finger on why that's happening, or is that? I don't think that's kind of standard business as usual in the NHL. It seems like teams are on top of the world, and then they quite literally fall off the map. And Vegas is an example right now. Do you have any explanation for that?
No, the only thing I can say is that I'm just a broadcaster and I fall off the map sometimes. So, I don't get it. The hotels are better. The airplanes are better. The food's better. There's probably more food even than when we played. The optional skates. I came down to the morning skate here. Winnipeg's in town in Chicago, and it's an optional skate. I mean, there's lots of rest to be had. Maybe it's the same things over and over. O-Dog, I don't know. Maybe it's the demands of watching the same video over and over. Maybe every once in a while, there's only so many gigabytes in the brain that you've got, and you just can't go any deeper. Maybe that's it. But you're right about that. The teams that don't go 2-7-1, after they've already gone 6-5-0, are the teams that are always in it. Always staying 2 games above 500 in a 10-game segment. But the teams that drop off, man, they drop off, and then it is difficult to get it back. So, O-Dog, I don't have many answers for you on that one, to be quite honest with you. I wish I did, but there are some nights I'm in the broadcast booth, and maybe some of the games just aren't very exciting, and some of them aren't. That's just the facts. And sometimes you just go, wow, how am I going to make something out of that? Well, maybe the players think the same way some nights. And, maybe, O-Dog, too, some nights I look around and you think it's going to be a competitive game, and next thing you know, there's 5 minor penalties in the first 4 minutes, and you're like, okay, wait a second, what kind of game are we going to get right here? I'd like to see it down the stretch. I'd like to see a lot more 5-on-5 hockey. I'd like to see these guys battle through, get a little animosity back in the game, a little push back, a little shove back, see if the blood gets flowing a little bit, and you can get the intensity up in the games.
With Darren Pang, the NHL on TNT, and you're in the rinks a lot, Panger, and going from spot to spot and talking with people throughout the league. And obviously here in Toronto, we're hyper focused on the Leafs and more so on what Matthews is doing right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, is this a buzz like throughout the league? Are you calling a game between the Blues and the Blackhawks, and people are saying, man, this guy might score 70? Is this a league-wide conversation, what Matthews is doing right now?
Well, we were just mentioning Connor Bedard, and that's why I love this kid. I mean, sitting at a stall after practice today, and that's one of the first things he said. How many is Auston Matthews going to get?
Yeah.
And then we're like, I mean, is it going to be 75? Is 75 the over? Does 76 win money? Does 75 tie? Does 74, neutralize the bet? I don't know. He said it's got to be 70. So there's the players talking about it, and there is a certain buzz in the air with how magnificent he's playing, and even when you get a couple that go off the shin pads or maybe some go off the pants, I mean, those are the bonus ones, because you're going to get, as we all know, the check-in's going to become a little bit harder. Maybe you're not going to get as many power plays as we go down the stretch. But man, oh man, is he playing? It's fun to watch him. I think he's out thinking everybody right now. Maybe I'm wrong. And Noodles, you were in the net more recently than I do, but he seems to be out. It seems to have more patience than the goalie. He seems to be turning his hands over and tricking the goalie. He seems to just be knowing exactly through mental telepathy what the heck everybody else is doing, and it's been amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he overpowers goalies with his, the release sometimes, but there's been 3 or 4. He scored one in Arizona the other day. I don't know if he's surprising goalies where his shooting's from. That was the same goal that he shot from on the boards. He scored on the kid Levi in Buffalo, same way. It was kind of like, off the wall, like throwing it towards the net, where I think goalies are looking for options where they're going, okay, where's this puck going? Maybe in the slot, back to the point. Like, oh, it's by me already, which is weird, but it's...
But Noodles, doesn't it seem like he's put some thought and some effort into it and possibly some viz where it's like this might work and that could work?
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like he's going out there to try it. I think there's like a really, complicated method to his madness where he's thought about everything and put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's so impressive to watch it come to fruition.
I agree, and I think that the small nuances of the game. And O-Dog, I'm sure that you knew which goalies were going to drop their glove a little bit or lack some patience. You're a right-hand shot. You had a good wrist shot. You go high under the bar and in, and you could kind of do that, not at will, but pick a goalie and say, that's what I'm going to do. But it seems like he's reading the goalies that don't hold their stick very firmly or very assertively on the ice. And like, he looks like he's going backdoor, turns his hand over a little bit, right through the goalie's legs. Like, the last guy, I mean, I know there's been many great scorers, so I don't want to be ridiculed here for this, but Gretz was unbelievable at doing the same thing. And on the left side, fake the shot, wait, and then somehow go underneath the goalie's stick and through his legs. I could never figure out how he could do it and wait for the goalie to somehow kind of hitch, move, raise his stick, and now it's underneath his stick and through his legs and in the net. I mean, I guess that's what great goal scorers do. They just have a certain sense, and maybe now with Auston and with all the the video, and you can watch 20 clips of a goalie and say, oh my God, this guy, he gives it underneath his stick every single night. I'll just try to test him early. And if it doesn't work early, well, then I got the backdoor play. Now I really got the goalie and the defenseman thinking if I can challenge him early on and get him on his heels.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible what he's doing right now, and exactly like the mind games. It's like Belichick, right? Like coaches used to always overthink it, like, oh, he's got all these plans, and then Belichick would just do what he always does, and they'd collapse, and every once in a while Matthews just rips one on net and it goes in.
Belichick was very simple. He wanted to take away your best option.
Right, exactly. Yet we talk to Luke Wilson all the time. Why did they throw on the goal line? Because they're like, well, Belichick's probably going to do something crazy. And Bill's probably like, I don't know why you threw, but we'll pick that off and win. Thank you. And, Matthews is he's chugging right now. And it sure is fun to watch. And, up here in Canada, it looks like we're going to have 4 tickets in the playoffs, Panger, and 3 of them happen to be out west. Vancouver, like we talked about, Edmonton's going, Winnipeg's going. You know the history. You're Canadian. It's been 30 years. How you feeling about, this year possibly seeing some magic up here in Canada with one of these 4 teams going to the playoffs?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I mean, last year I got a chance to, to do the majority of the Maple Leafs, first round win. I mean, it was, in 2004 that I actually was lucky enough to be the broadcaster with Steve Levy on ESPN. We did that full 7-game series. I believe, was it Nieuwendyk that scored?
Yep.
Through the legs of Patrick Lalime, maybe.
Yep.
So the last one. So it was that long. I mean, when I was going through the notes, I'm like, it was that long ago. Like I almost had hair in 2004, and then I'm doing it again in 2023. So it's exciting for me. It always is. Like it's exciting going to Vancouver for a playoff series, or obviously going to Edmonton, which we've been there a little bit the last few years. And Toronto and Winnipeg. And, when I was with the Blues in 2019, I mean, that could have gone either way. Winnipeg wins that series against the Blues. They could have gone all the way. And I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, they were made and built for it at that time. Place was going nuts. Now, what we need in Winnipeg, I know they're down on season tickets and attendance is down. I know Mark Chipman has talked about that a lot. That's a darn good hockey team. So I hope that, the fans on there get on board because that's a really tough place to play. I know it's got a lot of intimidation for a small building. So all in all, really excited. And I know I'll be working the first 2 rounds with TNT. And I tell you what, I give them a lot of credit, you guys. And they don't shy away from going to Canada to do a game. Never. They haven't done that, and they'll continue to go to Canada and cover games, and that's the way it should be. The Canadian teams are the NHL, and Canadian teams can win the Stanley Cup, and you got to make sure you're selling it to the rest of the nation as well to make sure that they know the product and who the great players are and what's going on. But make no mistake, everybody knows who the great players are in Canada and what kind of teams they are. That's for sure.
Absolutely. All right, Panger, we'll leave it there. We'll do it again down the road. Thank you for this.
Sounds great. Enjoy. Happy birthday, O-Dog.
Thanks, Banger. Have a good day, buddy.
Darren Pang from the NHL on TNT. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, we talk about that a lot. You got to come up. Like Matthews is up here. McDavid's up here. Those are the two guys right now causing the biggest stir. McDavid, clearly, he's been doing that forever. Matthews been doing it forever. And they're both in Canadian markets. So
16 teams get in, and you got 4 up here. Don't it, like 1 year? They can't.
1 in 4 chance.
That's the thing. It's going to be 25% of the tickets will be in Canada, right? And that's assuming Calgary misses, and I think they will, but they're still hanging on.
What are they back? I didn't even check here
they're
coming into tonight.
At least 4 points back, I think. What do they have, 58 points?
Yeah, apologies. They're 59 points, and the Blues have 62.
All right.
So they're 3 points out. The Blues have a game in hand. I think Nashville's getting in there, though. Nashville's been pretty consistent. They've been pretty good. Seattle's had a little bit of a run here recently as well. It's not off the table there. There's Minnesota, Calgary, Seattle, Nashville, St. Louis, St. Louis at 62-58.
Jamie,
so
everyone up until Arizona is in that thing.
Yeah, you're right. Basically 58-62, and then LA's at 66, Edmonton's at 68. But look at the games. Edmonton's played the least amount of games out of all of them. Like they've got 29 games left.
Look at those Vancouver Canucks, 10 points higher than anyone in the Pacific.
Impressive.
And yet people around here are freaking out. Oh my.
Yeah, no, Rick Tocchet's a happy man. He should be. All right, Dear Hayesy-B coming up. Dear Hayesy-B coming up, right? This is going to be a good one this week. I can feel it. Mail It In Friday is brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beers, always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. Dear Hayesy-B next.
Insight, the ability to see and understand why you do the things you do.
Dear Hayesy-B.
We're going to go down there and have a donkey barbecue, and I'm going to furnish the ass, right?
You don't want to hide a Mars bar in your sleeping bag when there's a bear outside the tent.
You guys know the deal, and I am very happy. Sometimes in a positive segment in hockey, you kind of circle back and you look what you've done and you say, great job. Joe from the Bridge, why don't you post up what we've done helping people and look at this? Wow. Dear Hayesy-B, I wrote in a few months back to get you and the boys' advice on a very important decision. Happy to report I popped the question on Valentine's Day on vacation in Punta Cana. Thanks for helping me out. Congrats on 8 years and happy birthday, O-Dog. Jay and Sylvie in Halifax.
I love it.
Helped him get married.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Wow. I'm blushing right now. I really am. And that's rare because we're professionals, but I love it. Look at that. Love is in the air. Dear Hayesy-B. That's what we bring to the table. We help people.
That's a crowning moment for us.
That really is. That's why we show up every day, for those type of stories and that type of testimonial. Shout out to those two lovebirds. We love it. Yeah. Love to see it. Love to hear it.
Unfortunately, that's quick-lived because now we get into the nonsense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Dear Hayesy-B, looking at Jay's games to attend this year, my buddy is waiting for the promo schedule so we can hit some Looney Dog games. One time last year, this cat set up shop in the 500s with a 12-pack on his lap and was finished by the 4th inning. Do we tell him $1 dog nights are out this year? And this is a big thing because I think people... My personal opinion is the dollar dog nights, it's a one-shot deal. If somebody wants to go and continue to hammer these dogs time and time again, I think it's too much.
I agree. Listen, I don't personally like hot dogs, so I would not get down with that business at all. The idea of people going down there and hammering 3-4 hot dogs because it's cheap, to me, is actually terrifying. And should have nothing to do with the baseball experience. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe a one-off. The idea that you're going to lock it in, 4, 5, 6 times over the course of the year? I don't think so. I think you circle it on the schedule the one time. So we're going in, we're bringing cash, we're going to get a little crazy here. But that's all you need. I don't think you need to abuse the loony dog night at the Rogers Center.
One-shot deal. Like, you get around with some buddies and say, hey, guys, in the middle of July, we're going to go hammer some hot dogs and get all boiled up in Toronto, and that's it.
One night.
One-shot deal.
Yeah,
exactly.
You got one exactly.
Time.
It can't be like a reoccurring thing.
No.
Because you're right. Like that gets old. And I don't know. A $1 hot dog, that's pretty... You got to
ask. Yeah, what do you get? You get what you pay for.
Exactly.
Maybe
it
that's
might
exactly
be a Harry Dunn situation too.
Right.
It might not be good.
Dear Hayesy-B, for Christmas, my brother and I got our family tickets to see the Habs versus Bruins game on March 14th in Montreal. My mom is a diehard Habs fan and my dad is a diehard Bruins fan. Although my dad is one of the most laid-back guys I know, when he gets drinking, he's extremely loud. He's planning on wearing full Bruins gear to the game. Hat, jersey, t-shirt, etc. And I know once he has a few pops, he'll be cheering as loud as possible. I don't want to see him end up on a viral video getting dummied by a Habs fan at the game. Do we let him wear all his Bruins gear and pray he keeps his mouth shut and doesn't run into an angry Habs fan? Make him leave the Bruins gear at home? ? Limit his beer consumption ? What do they do?
Ooh.
Well, this is a tough one because that sounds like just an incredible evening. There's nothing much better than going to see, a hockey game at the Bell Center, Bruins, Habs. I think you just got to allow them to floor it, because in a game like that, with a history like that, yes, it will be rowdy in there, but there will be other Bruin fans around too. And there's a very good chance he will not be the rowdiest and will not cause the biggest stir. And, Montreal's got a long history of being a great hockey market. When the Leafs roll in, Bruins roll in, yes,
incredible
there can be
games.
Some friction. But it's exactly. And they know they're going to get loud. If the Habs dummy the Bruins, he's going to have to be prepared to hear it. He's going to hear it. Habs fans are going to jump on him for that. But I think it sets up to be an electric evening. You don't want to put any rules in place that are going to throw him and his game off. It's a big night for both of them. Let them go have a good time. And just, if anything, it's a little pep talk. Like, hey, if it gets carried away one way or the other, Bruins up 7-0, Habs up 7-0, just keep it to yourself in the third period. And let's get out of there, and we can move on with our lives. But you don't want too many ground rules for a big night in Montreal at the Bell Center. You got to let them live.
Why not
life.
some common sense? It's like, Dad, wear your jersey, have a bunch of beers beforehand, get crushed, get dummied at the game.
Common sense.
Well, no, but you can have a good time without provoking the home fans.
Obviously.
You know what I mean? It's like, have fun.
But cheering is not provoking. You can cheer.
I get it. You can cheer on your team if they score a goal or get a power play. But if you stand up and call someone else in a different jersey and you're being confrontational and ignorant, you're just causing problems. Who needs that?
I agree. If you're standing there in your Bruins jersey and you're clapping like Trudeau, like in somebody's face, remember how
the
fast he was clapping?
game?
Yes. If you're doing that in somebody's face, that you're going to have a reaction. You can be a fan, but I think within reason. And that's it. Like outside of everything else, like if people are they're always going to go looking for problems. But if you open your yap and then you get your back up or get emotions involved because you've had 40 drinks, that's when trouble starts. You're allowed to be a fan. I think other fans don't mind it. For the most part, if you're obnoxious, that's when you get yourself in trouble.
Sure. But who cares about other fans? Yes, don't be obnoxious, but go in there and cheer on your team.
Enjoy
yourself.
have
a great time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dear Hayesy-B, my friends and I like to play premium golf courses. One of our regulars considered himself the Negotiator. He haggles for green fees, pro shop merchandise, even beers from the cart girl. It's brutally embarrassing. Help.
Well, I don't know how you can possibly do that when you're talking about premium golf courses. Yeah, like the Negotiator.
How are you getting on there anyway?
Exactly. I just find that hard to believe. Like, how are you going to haggle, a lower price for beers with the cart girl like that? That's embarrassing. Like, she's just out there trying to do her job. She just wants to drive around and help people out. I don't know. I think you just got to have a conversation with the guy and say you're really embarrassing us more than anything else.
Yeah.
And I don't know what world we're living in here where you think this is like a flea market. You can call up a great track and say, I get it. It's a $180 greens fee. We'll pay $150. You think they need you that badly? I mean, golf is
Dude, if this guy's playing serious premium courses, you walk into a premium course and they say $450 or $500 and it's non-negotiable. You want to play or not?
Right, exactly.
Or honestly, get lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you got to have the chat and just say, if you're doing it, you're representing yourself. You're not representing the rest of the guys. And it's one thing if you want to call up. Again, I've never heard of that before, calling the pro shop. Unless you have vouchers or something, but you're not playing Pebble Beach with coupons.
Or unless you know someone on the inside.
Or if you know somebody. But once you get in there and you're looking for merchandise and drinks on the cheap, I mean, I don't even. That's delusional. You cannot allow that to happen.
No,
we got a hockey one here.
Come on.
We got a hockey one here.
Okay.
Dear Hayesy-B, super positive Friday. My cousin is always negative about the Leafs. We call him Negative Nancy. Nancy is known to overreact, and over a month ago he sent a text in the group chat saying the Leafs will not even make the playoffs. How do we get Nancy to enjoy this ride?
Well, I mean, this feels like something we talk about all the time. I don't think you can. I mean, the reality of the Leaf fan base is it's massive, and there's a massive spectrum that comes with that. Uber positive, uber negative. And it doesn't matter if they're winning or losing. That mentality's probably not going to change. So what you do is you come over the top with the positivity, and you allow Nancy or whoever it is to just stew in that. Like, again, I said this earlier this afternoon. Not every chat has to be about what's going to happen in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. Allow other fan bases to do that. That's the first thing that pops up, right? You say, you tweet out a fact. Matthews with 52. Yeah, but wait until he gets to the playoffs. Okay, right now in the regular season, he's got 52. That's just a fact. And if you're going to get to that point, so be it. But why you would spoil right now, it's a really good ride, fun team, different personalities, and again, history in the making here with Matthews. Like, at no point. It's kind of like when like I've said this before, like when the Raptors won the championship in 19, like prior to that, never at any point in my life since they came into existence did I ever equate a championship with the Raptors. Like, it felt like an impossibility.
Right.
And in many ways, it's the same thing when it comes to a guy as a Maple Leaf chasing like 70 goals. Like, that's never been... That happens in Edmonton with Gretzky. That happens in Pittsburgh with Lemieux. It happens with other teams. It's never been a Leaf thing, and it's finally a Leaf thing. And the idea that your buddy wouldn't accept that or just can't find any positivity in that, to me, is crazy. But if that's the case, let them be.
Yeah,
just do your own thing.
And you're right. Like, everybody's got an opinion, and it's always like, okay, well, this is going well. Yeah, but this. But what you're doing is you're drawing on past disappointments. You're not allowing yourself to go, well, this is possible. Well, no, it's not, because this always happens. So it's you're never going to change that particular person's mentality. So you got to create your own. You go around it. That's what I would do. You go around it. Allow that person to be negative, but don't allow it to bring down the group.
Absolutely. Have yourself a time. You might as well, because again, come playoff time, who knows? Maybe it will be heartbreak.
Noodles, I'd like you to answer first on this one, because I think you'd be good at planning on road trips, getting ready to leave, packing things appropriately.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's this situation. Dear Hayesy-B, girlfriend and I are taking a roadie to Quebec City for a ski trip next week. And I'm getting some serious blowback on my plan to listen to OverDrive podcast for the full 8-hour trip.
Ooh.
How do I smooth this over?
That's tough.
That's a tough one. That is a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, are they expecting to, basically like converse the whole time?
But guys, you got to think about it. If someone's not into listening to us three donkeys, imagine 8 hours of it.
Okay, but I've got an idea here. I've got an idea, though.
Man.
So my kids will have their tablets or their phone or whatever. I put headphones on in the car, always. So you can, if you feel like, hey, we're not going to chat for a little bit, or, other person in the car falls asleep. If she falls asleep, put the headphones on. You can get an hour and a half in right there. Like, to me, there's a happy medium there. You don't have to go all 8 hours straight,
right?
But put the headphones on, and she can listen to her music. She can read her phone. A lot of people, they scroll Instagram, do whatever they need to do. but she doesn't need to hear it. If she doesn't want to hear us, we can be yelling and screaming in your ear, in your headphones.
Right. I think, listen, I appreciate that commitment. That's amazing that you're, downloading the podcast and playing it all the way to Quebec City. I think you got to be reasonable here because I'm sure it's a boyfriend-girlfriend thing. It's an experience. You want everyone on the same page. What you do is you float it back and say, all right, well, let's go half and half. Let's figure, what do you want? What would you want to listen to? Are you podcast, music, where are we at? And make sure that there's a combination of both. And maybe there's an agreement, let's listen to OverDrive till we get out of the city, and then we'll throw on something else. And then maybe once we get into Quebec, we'll throw it back on for an hour or two. I think you just find the happy medium. Everyone wants to be happy. Yeah. You want to listen to, to the podcast on the way there. Clearly, she may not be a super fan, but maybe what you do is also, here's another thing. I just thought of this. We've been talking about our best of stuff this week. Get her going with the 40-yard dash. Maybe play, some Dr. Ho versus the O-Dog. Like some of the clips of the past, La Bamba. See if she finds humor in that, and then you drag her in. That's what we do. We drag people in.
What about this? Give her some AirPods and say, do your own thing. I'm driving.
8 hours? That's a tough one. Although there's stops.
We live in a world now where people can get into their own business for 8 hours. Trust me on that.
Okay. All right.
That's what I was saying.
Phone calls on their own, talking with their own friends, videos, Instagram. Like, that's nothing, dude.
All right.
Nothing.
Okay, I'll see you in QC. I love that idea. We'll see you
And if she doesn't have AirPods, even if she does, get her the better ones and say, I got you this gift for this trip. Buy them on.
There you go. Best of both worlds. That's why we're here, to help people.
Yeah.
All right, you got any more?
Yeah, Dear Hayesy-B, Bobby here, in need of help. I finally locked down a date with a girl I've been chasing for months. She's really cool and suggested we grab wings, ribs, and beers tomorrow night and watch the Leafs game. Problem is, I'm an absolute disaster when it comes to eating saucy foods, and I have no stop sign when it comes to eating. If I'm crushing beers, pure debauchery. Should I try to change the plans or just embrace that she's going to have to accept that I'm basically a newborn learning how to feed?
Well, it's tough, though. You want to make a good impression. Man. Like, you're opening
I know,
ribs
but what if he
wings,
just gets a growl on and he just...
sauce
I don't know.
everywhere. Like, that's a tough... I will say, because we've all been here, first dates, guys have a tendency, I think we can speak for all of us here. You don't overthink a lot. You're just kind of excited. You're like, all right, we got a first date. She's into it. Let's meet. That's cool. That seems like a cool scene. Beers and wings and Leaf game. What perfect. Because you probably at a bar, not a lot of, weird silences. But, what we are self-aware of is you get a rib sauce up the cheek or on the nose.
Yeah.
It's a tough look, man.
You guys know that I don't clean shave ever. I just have stubble. I can't feel sauce on my face.
That's what I'm saying, man.
We know. We're aware.
Like, we'll get up. Yeah, my wife will say, you cannot get up from this table right now. Your face is completely covered in spaghetti sauce.
Yeah.
And I can't feel it.
So what's the move then? You can't be constant napkin guy or she'll think you're a freak. You can't every bite be napkin guy.
How about have a little self-respect? Like, if you're going to...
knife and fork it? That's
no,
even
I'm just
worse.
going to say, like...
What do you mean? What does self-respect have to do with ribs and wings?
If you know you're a pig... And you're just gonna relax. Like, do not eat like you're going to the electric chair.
But Noodles,
in front of her.
I think if he grabs a fork and a knife and starts eating wings and
she's
ribs
out.
with that,
you can't do that.
No, she's gonna sniff it out and say this guy's a fraud.
Exactly,
right.
But the thing is, again, there's somewhere in the middle where you can go, I am going to eat with my hands, but I'm going to eat it in 3 bites instead of swallowing 3 at once, choking on it, coming up and it all over my cheek and all over my shirt. Like, you've got to find a way to at least try and put forth your best foot so that she does want to see you again, so that she does want to actually interact with you. Instead of going, I'm eating with a barnyard animal right now.
I don't know, man. I hear you, Noodles, but if this guy, I'm assuming, is in his probably 20s or something, that's what you're getting, right? Like, you're right. Early in the relationship, you're on your best behavior. You're looking good, feeling good. You want, first impression matters. But this guy, I think, is basically saying if he's having ribs and wings and beers, whether it's tomorrow or in
All
a
bets
month,
are
or
off,
he's
yeah.
a disaster. This guy is basically he's a barnyard animal. Like, that's what this guy is.
And think about how long he's got to hold everything in. Like a Leaf game with wings and ribs. And he'll fart for 7 kilometers when he drops her off. Because that's a long time.
Yeah, that guy's he's got some problems. I think you're being reasonable, Noodles, and I think that's reasonable advice. Try to slow down. Slow down a little bit.
Try not to, yeah.
But again, napkins, got to have the napkins around. But if you keep asking for napkins every bite, she's going to sniff that out too and be like, "This guy is just not a normal, not a normal human being."
We all
I
have
think you
phones.
like Noodles said, don't be a pig.
All right, don't be a pig. There it is.
Yeah, just get in there and have the food and don't be a pig.
Yeah.
Like, you got a blessing there. You got a lady that wants to take you for wings and ribs and beers in the Leaf game.
Yeah, don't screw it
Unreal.
up. That's
Don't
what we're
screw
saying.
it up.
Don't screw
Go
it
buy a
up.
ring, pal, just like the other guy at the beginning of the segment. He got married. Go
Right.
get
Yeah.
married.
Don't screw it up. Don't be an
Yeah.
idiot. But you also, like, you got to commit. You can't go in and be like, "Give me a salad or something." You know, like you're going for ribs and wings and beers or whatever. That's what you're doing.
But see, Doogie's saying get the dry ribs. That's the move. But the dry ribs, you get
Doogie
all of
can't
that caught
get
in your
a date
teeth.
himself. He's not allowed in the segment.
All right, well, that's fair. That's fair.
No,
but I'm
he's
saying
not.
The dry ribs, you start eating and then you smile. They're right in your jibs.
Right.
And if they're salt and pepper, then the pepper's in your teeth. Like,
Not good.
You, it's all about the appearance. How about take a picture of yourself or take a peek at the phone and see what your yap looks like?
Selfies on a first date?
Not a
though?
selfie.
Like, how you pulling
Just
that
go,
off?
hey, you know what? Check in this message, and you spin it around and see what your face looks like.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
I
you
would do
got. I
something
mean,
like that.
listen. This is why this guy wrote in, though, and the three of us all have a different view. This is nuclear. He is going to be so nervous tomorrow night, and I want an update. We'll see. We'll see what comes of it.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any more? That's probably it, I guess.
That's
Florida.
it. That's
That's
the
it.
wrap.
Yeah, Dear Hayesy-B. All right. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Listen, there's been a lot of activity, and people are getting engaged, and everything's coming together. This is great stuff. This
It
is
is.
why we bring what we bring to the table. We're here to help people, and hopefully we've done that today. And if we have, we can sleep well at night. Right?
Any other success stories? Send in the pics, all of it. Like the guy going for wings and beers, we want to pick at dinner for next
Yep.
week.
We want the whole 9. We want the whole story. All right, there you go. We'll come back and wrap up what's been a busy week, busy afternoon. We got a big one coming up this weekend. We'll tee it up. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, Millen Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. From tip-offs to tie bites and puck drops to pizza, BP's elite lineup of apps, wings, and ice-cold beer is always dialed in for game time. Hustle into your local BP tonight. Raptors in action tonight. You got the Leafs in Colorado tomorrow. Last time these teams played, it was Colorado that just kind of stormed back. Remember, the Leafs were flying early at home. And then McKinnon took over. McCarr took over. Keefe had that comment after the game about, that's not the NHL. That's out of this world when those guys get cooking.
Yeah, Pee-wee stuff.
Yeah. We'll see what they've
That
got
was said.
tomorrow because,
I don't remember, yeah.
yeah, McKinnon, Rantanen, McCarr. Like, there's some people speculating on Landeskog, and if he can return.
He's been skating. That's what you hear, right? He's
You mean
been
like
skating.
period play again?
Yeah, like this year, maybe in the playoffs.
Playoffs, the Kucherov type of
That's
thing.
what that's what they talked about. But they projected him to say possibly he could play in the playoffs earliest.
That seems tough after like 2 years, man.
Yeah.
But like a great player, clearly. But
You want to
jumping on
talk
a
about an
moving train?
addition that could put you over the top if he could come back and be 60% of what he is. It's a
Pretty
big
good.
time player, man.
Yeah, pretty good. Yep. All right. Well, it's been a fun week. Birthday festivities ongoing tonight throughout the weekend, I would assume, and we'll see what comes of it. Yeah.
Dinners and cake and
Everything.
happy birthday. Are you the guy, if you go out to like dinner, that they put the helmet on you or whatever and they come out and sing to you and stuff like that? You must love that, eh?
Yeah, we got to hook that up. We
Like, I think there's a place like Montana's or something in St. Albert. They put like a moose head on you.
Oh, it would be
And, like,
terrible.
everyone comes out, happy birthday, like singing away. It's just nonsense. It's
just the
awesome.
worst nightmare. Like the last thing anyone wants.
I used to do that all the time when it wasn't their birthday. That's that guy's birthday.
So annoying. So aggravating.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for all the help today and all week. We appreciate that. Everyone for tuning in today. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. As always, we're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy your weekends. We're back Monday at
Ribs and Wing Guy. Freshen up for the drive home. And you know what I'm talking about. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.